Okay, here we are. All right, I'm going to jump right in because, frankly, I don't know how long this will take. You know how I can be a little long-winded sometimes. With recent events, especially the debate on Tuesday night, which was an absolute disaster for both from both sides. Now, see, I can say that because I'm not a party loyalist. I don't haven't sold my soul to a political party so that I can be invited to the right parties or included in the right groups. I care about individual liberty, and whoever is fighting for, pushing for, advocating for that, that's the person or group that will get my support. I don't care what party you're in. Now, one of the things that struck me about the debate, and I'm going to be honest with you, I only watched about 15 minutes of it, and I got to the point where I was about to punch a hole in my monitor. I was watching it on the computer, and I thought, no, no, I'm turning this off because I knew I was going to see the video clips later, and I'd see the news reports, etc. So I was going to get the gist of it anyway. But economics, the public school system in this country is an abysmal failure, especially since the advent of the federal Department of Education. And you don't need to take my word for it. Look it up. Look at the statistics. The United States has dropped into the lower percentile of educated countries around the world, since the advent of the federal Department of Education, which is one of the reasons why, when I ran for Congress, I advocated abolishing that department. One of several I'd get rid of because they're unconstitutional and not within the purview of the federal government via the Constitution. I know that's crazy talk. That Constitution, that old rag, who listens to that anymore? But it's obvious to me that there are a lot of people in this country on both ends of the political spectrum who know nothing about economics. Everything, whenever you hear somebody say, well, the government's going to pay for it, that right away tells you they don't know what they're talking about. The government pays for nothing. Nothing. You and I do. They take it out of our paychecks. They take it out of my Social Security because they didn't get enough of my money when I was working for 40 plus years. Now that I'm retired and on Social Security, they want to get more of it. One of the things I would recommend to people, and I know this is crazy talk, I can feel the knees jerking now, is reading about economics. The education you got in the public school system or in secondary schools and college and universities is a failure. They haven't told you anything that you need to know to prepare you for life in the real world. One of the books I would recommend is The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Now, yeah, it's a pretty long read. It's over 1,200 pages. So you're not going to read it in one night unless you're some kind of computer. But start. Get it, go to the library, buy it. It's not that expensive. You can get it on Amazon or any number of other book places and read the book. If you don't like reading, if you're the typical American today with an attention span like that of a gnat, go on YouTube, type in Friedrich Hayek, Ludwig von Mises, Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, Milton Friedman. Hundreds of videos from those guys on economics. And don't think that it's just the left. I mean, we know the left is absolutely stupid. And yeah, I know I use the word stupid a lot because frankly, I don't know what other word to use. Ignorant doesn't seem to cover it. Ignorant implies that you just don't know. To me, stupid means you don't know and you don't care to know. You don't want to learn. And when someone comes along, whether it's me or someone else, and tries to explain things to you, you look at us like we're the crazy ones. But listen to some of those videos and listen to them explain how economics works. And even Trump did the same thing. Now, granted, the economy was certainly better under Trump than it has been before or since. In fact, that fascinates me. Over the last 16 years, 12 of those years have seen Democrat administrations in the White House. But we're all supposed to believe the country's in the mess that it's in now because of 4 years of Trump. In 4 years, Trump managed to do all this stuff that the Democrats say was just so awful and so terrible, despite the fact that unemployment numbers under Trump were the lowest they've been in history. All metrics, all peoples, all groups, all ethnic and cultural groups, everybody, lowest unemployment numbers ever. And then the Democrats want to turn around and tell us that it was the worst economy ever and the mess that Trump left them. And Trump he even talks about tariffs. Well, who do you think pays for that? If I'm exporting, and let's just go back to the 19th century when the biggest import from this country overseas was cotton. And there were tariffs. In fact, one of the Morrill Act that helped lead to the Civil War. We're going to tax certain items out of certain ports going out of certain states higher than we are from other ports in other states. And ultimately, that means the cost of the items that are coming back that have been made with that raw material are going to cost the consumer more. Don't think businesses got to be businesses by being stupid. The reason they went into business, and you can ask anybody, why did you start that business? Why did you go into business? What was the reason for that? To make a profit. No one goes and starts a business just to help the community. Oh, they may ultimately say that's part of why they started it. But look, having owned 2 businesses, I can tell you, it's a hell of a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of worry. And you don't do that just because you want to help the community. You do that because you're hoping to make some money. So if the government steps in and says, well, we're going to put a tax on this. Well, we're just taxing the business. Calm down, America. We're only taxing the business. Well, okay. Where do you think the business is going to recoup that money? Do you think they're just going to bend over, grab their ankles and say, thank you, sir, may I have another? And just take the loss? Not if they're smart, not if they want to stay in business. All they're going to do is raise the cost on their items or their services to you, the consumer. So like everything else, you are the one who winds up paying the cost. Now, if you don't understand that, Democrat, Republican, whoever you are, if you don't understand that simple concept, then you either A, have not been educated properly in economics, or B, you just don't care. You just want to believe the rhetoric. You want to believe what your party is telling you. And that is what I call stupid. Yeah, you're stupid if you don't understand that basic concept about economics. And so both sides do it. And ultimately, I don't care who they tell you is paying for it or how it's not going to cost you anything. They're lying to you. It's always going to cost you. And Trump didn't do himself any favors Tuesday. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, I know he was up against 3 people, right? We know now that Kamala was wearing those earbuds so she could be told what to say. And to her credit, she followed through on it and did well. They knew all they had to do was poke Trump. And he was going to lose all control, forget all about what the question was, not going to answer the direct question, but go off on, well, you know what happened back then and what she did. Look, just answer the question. Trump would have done himself and everybody else a bigger favor if he had just said, this is what I am going to do to fix things. Not his usual, it's going to be huge. It's going to be good. I know what good is, and it's going to be good. Answer the question. How are you going to fix the economy? Now, if you asked me, how would you fix the economy? Here's what I would say. Get the government out of it and leave people alone. Americans love to grow their businesses. Americans will do whatever they have to do, legally, I would hope, to make money, to make that profit. The more businesses, the more profit they make, the more they can grow, the more people they can hire, the more people are employed. See how this works? Democrats would like to make fun of that. They think that's crazy talk. That's not how the economy works. The government has to do it. The government has to take care of you. And all these Democrats who just are bowing at the feet of Kamala Harris. Anybody remember 4 years ago when she was running for president the first time? I remember. I bet you could look it up on the interwebs and see where she was the first one to drop out of the field of Democrats in the primaries because she was getting no support. None. Zero. She dropped out because it was obvious nobody wanted her. And then, of course, after telling Biden what a huge racist he was, she gets picked as vice president because checked off all the right boxes. Female, check. Woman of color, check. Notice I didn't say African-American because she's not. Let me see. Woman of color. What else? Democrat, liberal. Yeah, she's checking off all the right boxes. And all that stuff about Biden being a racist. Well, I was just joking. I was kidding. And people act now, these Democrats act like, oh, she's the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my God, how did we not see that before? It's obvious to me that there are far too many people in this country on both sides of the political spectrum who don't give a single shit about the country. All they care about is their political party. That's it. As long as my guys are in charge, I'm going to forget all the bad stuff they've done. I'm going to forget all the stupid things they've said. I'm going to vote for them because it's my party. You know, one of the things, and this is just a quick aside, that I like about ice hockey, both as a player and having coached it and watching professional level, is hockey polices its own. We've had guys on our team who were just, I'm going to say it, just assholes. Nobody liked them. Nobody on the other teams liked them because they were dirty players. They were smart asses. They talked trash to anybody and everybody. And I'm talking about beer league hockey. I'm not even talking about the professional level. There are guys whose own teams don't like them. And you can tell, you know who those guys are, because when a fight starts and somebody goes after that guy, as is often the case in hockey, his own teammates don't come to his defense. They just stand back and say, hey, you started this mess, you finish it. Why don't we do that with our country? Why do we stand there and go, well, I know this person over here is a dumbass, but he's my dumbass, or she's my dumbass, or whatever the case may be. Does anybody even care about liberty anymore? Trying to keep my blood pressure down. Oh, man. Does anybody care? Do you even know what liberty is? If I ask you to define liberty, maybe narrow it down a little more than that. Individual liberty. Could you tell me? Or would you have to look it up? If I asked you what freedom is, do you really know? Or do you have to wait for some talking head on TV to tell you what it is? And this idea with the Democrats that, well, we need to take care of everybody. Now, Kamala wants to give people money to buy a house. Now, Kamala wants to give people money for their education. Listen to the woman. And don't just listen to her now, because we all know that when people are running for office, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I mean, isn't that what whores do? As long as you're paying them, they'll tell you whatever you want them to tell you. But who's paying for all this? Where's the money coming from? Oh, they'll just print more, Floyd. Well, gosh, anybody ever looked up the word inflation? And I don't mean pumping up a football. I mean monetary inflation. Have you looked it up? Do you know what it is? Do you know how it happens? Maybe if you read this book, you'd understand. So now, aside from giving money to Ukraine, and thanks, Republicans, for continuing that one, you bunch of dumbasses. Aside from giving money to Israel, which we do on a yearly basis anyway, even before October of last year, $8 billion a year. I wonder what $8 billion a year could do in this country. I mean, it is our tax money after all. Wouldn't you think it would be used in our country? But they always seem to find money when they need it, don't they? Who was it? Department of Defense recently spent like $2.5 billion on vacations and resort visits and other nice things for their employees. And then they'll come out with a story about how, we just can't account for $12 billion from last year's budget. But if you or I don't fill out our tax forms properly and we're short by $1.51, the IRS is going to come knocking on your door. You can bet your ass on that. I don't know. If I stay on here too much longer, I'm going to ramble too much. And I'm afraid I'd just bore you. But the bottom line is this. Despite all their protestations to the opposite, party loyalists don't do any research. They just listen to what they hear on TV. They believe what their guy or their gal says. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's not about the country. It's not about individual liberty. It's about the party. Is my party in charge? If so, great. I voted for that. So I'm happy now because my team won. The rest of you people out there in flyover country, screw you. I don't care what's happening to you. The party politics is a cancer. And you try to eradicate cancers, don't you? George Washington, the father of our country, warned us about party politics. Many of the founding fathers warned us about party politics. And here we are. Isn't that, for me anyway, that's one of the great things about the founding generation is they were prescient. They knew what was going to happen. They saw it as they were discussing the Constitution, as they were discussing before that the Articles of Confederation. They understood the propensity for humans to do human things, like be tyrants, like try to control others, like try to gain more power for themselves, like try to get more money for themselves. And make no mistake, as a former business owner, I have absolutely no problem with a business making a profit. That's why you're in business. But when you do it through lies and you do it through chicanery and cheating and stealing, then I have a problem with it. If you make money because you work hard, you have a good product or you have a good service and people want to buy it, that's America. Knock yourself out. But when you're lying to me, when you're taking my money from me under false pretenses, when you're using it for things that A, you're not supposed to use it for, and B, I didn't authorize you to use it, I have a problem with that. But once again, here we are. A country with over 330 million people in it, and we're stuck with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And isn't it funny with Kamala Harris, the very party who for the last 4 or 5 years has been telling us that they have to defend democracy. We've got to keep democracy. We have to fight for it because there are people out there trying to destroy democracy. Well, number one, we're not a democracy. We are a republic. Look it up. Again, I'm going to put it on you to actually do some work. But isn't it funny that the same people who are defending democracy didn't even allow the members of their own party to pick who their candidate was going to be? They picked it for them. And again, Republicans do the same thing. A lot of my friends, Ron Paul supporters, you know who you are. Remember what they did to Ron Paul when Mitt Romney ran against him? I remember. They lied their asses off and they cheated Ron Paul out of the nomination because they didn't like Ron Paul. He wasn't part of the swamp as far as they were concerned. He wasn't willing to allow himself to be used and manipulated. So we got Mitt Romney and we saw what happened after that. Folks, look, I do this a lot because it helps me get things off my chest, all right? It's my way of venting. I used to hope that I would actually have some impact. Excuse me, that I might actually get someone, whether right or left, to stop for a few brief moments and think, well, I'm not sure if I believe what he said, but I'm going to look into that. I want to try to find out more about it. I came to realize that seldom, if ever, happens, and certainly not the numbers I'd like to see it happen. But, excuse me a second. I got a little tickle in my throat. So I guess I'm at the point now when I make these videos or when I type one of my long diatribes on my Facebook page that I'm doing it more than anything else to vent. Either that or go down to the garage and beat the snot out of the heavy bag. But we have to decide at some point, as an American, all rhetoric aside, do we really care about individual liberty and thus, as an extension, about the country? Or is it all about our political party? Which one is it? You got to make a decision. Because if you keep doing things the way you've been doing them, we're going to keep getting what we've been getting. And if you like what we've been getting, if you like what we've been getting, then keep doing what you're doing. But I'm of the belief right now, and trust me when I say I understand how people are going to receive this, and some of you are not going to like it. It's going to make you very uncomfortable, may even make you angry with me. But you know what? So what? I don't think voting is going to fix the problems we have in this country. I really don't. I really believe we've gone beyond that now. As I mentioned in a couple of videos I posted last night from the movie or miniseries Adams about the founding of our country. We've gotten the letter back from King George, and the letter says, go pound sand. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you want. We're going to do things my way. And there are a lot of, if you say to yourself, well, we just have to cut the head off the snake. Well, there are a lot of snakes. It's going to be hard to figure out which one to cut the head off of. Maybe it's going to take several. But you have to want to do it. You have to be willing to do it and recognize, as I do, it brings me no joy to say these things. I don't feel good about it. I hope I'm wrong. Write that down. Make note of the time and date. I hope I'm wrong. But I understand what I'm saying and what it means. And we had this problem back in 1776. We had it again in 1861. And now we've got it once more. And what you need to decide is how much more of this bullshit are you going to take? How much are you going to allow? How far does it have to go before you say enough? And don't kid yourself. Don't think that whether Donald Trump wins in November or Kamala, and I'm not saying Kamala can't win because there are enough stupid people in this country willing to vote for her. And when she's got the news media in her back pocket, well, okay, you know what's likely to happen. And don't think they won't cheat again. They got away with it before. Don't think they won't try it again. Nobody suffered any consequences. So why wouldn't they try it again? But you have to decide what's important to you and what's not, and what you're willing to make a sacrifice for. People ask the question sometimes when you get into an argument with somebody, well, is that the hill you want to die on? Well, that's what I'm asking you now. What hill? What's your hill? Which one do you want to die on? Which one are you willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for? Because that's what it's going to take. That is absolutely, in my opinion, what it's going to take. Voting ain't going to fix it. I don't believe that. Deep down in my soul, I don't believe it for 1 second. Because we keep having to vote for the same dumbasses. The party says, this is who you're going to vote for. Well, I don't like that guy. I don't like that girl. I don't want to vote for either one of them. Well, that's all you got. That's the only choices we're giving you. Well, then I really don't have a choice, do I? You get to make the decisions, and I have to go with it. I don't know how you think anything's going to get fixed that way. Because let's face it, both parties, the party hierarchy doesn't give a single shit about you. All they care about is themselves, accruing more power, gathering more money to themselves, and to hell with the rest of you. All right, if I go on, I'm going to probably get a little more angry, and I'm trying not to do that. So I'm going to take off now, but just, talk to your friends. Find out what their thinking is and why they think that way. It's like the title of this particular video, how and why. How did we get where we are, and why do we keep doing it? And thinking things are going to change. All right. That's all for now. You guys have a good evening.